Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Hey everyone, thank you for coming back to Tactical Magic Podcast. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I am thrilled to be interviewing one of my favorite people and mentors, Sharla Jacobs, who I have spent years studying under and just wooed by and fascinated by. This woman has absolutely changed my life, and I'm going to read a little bit about her, but I am really happy you're listening to this episode or watching this episode on YouTube, wherever you may be, because Sharla has some amazing information and magic to share with you. And it's like such a pleasure for me to get to share that through my own channels today. So Sharla Jacobs and her husband and business partner, Jesse Koren, have been called the #1 source for turning coaches and holistic practitioners into six-figure transformational leaders. If you look at the transformational leaders of today, you'll find that many of them had their first $10,000 a month while working with Jesse and Sharla. They've also been recognized as the world's leading authorities when it comes to teaching coaches and holistic practitioners how to attract more clients. And Thrive Academy members have earned collectively over $100 million. On the surface, it seems they're just teaching practical skills and templates to coaches and holistic practitioners so they can attract more clients and have their first $10,000 a month. However, what they're best known for is providing deeply transformational experiences for people who know they've also got to work on their inner game if they want to create a thriving business. Whether you want a thriving private practice or you want to step into transformational leadership, Thrive Academy is the place to be. And I can attest to that, as I really don't know who I would be if I hadn't gone through the Thrive Academy programs. And I'm not sure I would have stayed in business, much less had my first $10,000 a month, if it weren't for the tools and the tactics that they teach in Thrive Academy and the personal growth and evolution that I underwent at their events and in their programs. So the real reason I invited Sharla today was because I just love her and adore her, and the stuff that she has put out into the world has 100% changed my life and my reality and allowed my business to continue growing and evolving. And I hope that you guys listen to this whole episode, because we're going to drop some wisdom closer to the end, but I also want you to get a little bit about Sharla's story. So thank you so much for being here with me today, Sharla.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Molly. And what a sweet, wonderful introduction. I can't tell you what a blessing it has been to have you in our community. I mean, everybody here who listens to you knows what a brilliant woman, what a wise sage you are, and how much you bring. And, you have blessed us with not only being a client and, having your own success, but you've also supported and assisted on the team as you were, learning and growing. And, you're so sharp and so smart and so full of heart and so generous and such a contribution to everyone around. I just really so thrilled. I don't know who we would be if we hadn't had you around. So
Oh, thank you. That's super sweet. Yeah, I will just mention, I recognized so early on that Jesse and Sharla knew how to do what I wanted to learn how to do. That I knew if I just got into that room enough times that I would figure it out. I would start to learn it by osmosis. So I did. I assisted at a lot of Thrive Academy events just because I wanted to get behind the scenes, get a little bit more into their world, become closer with them, and also learn the masterful way that they put on these huge events. I think you guys do 10 or 11 events still every single year?
yeah, this year it'll be 11. It has been 12 for many, many years. At one point it was 23. That was before we had kids.
23 events a year.
Yeah,
That
that was a long
is,
time ago.
yeah, that is a lot to facilitate in any given month. It's wild.
Yeah, it'll be 10 next year. Only three of them are the Client Attraction Summit. We may even go down to 7 or 8 in 2021. We have some plans to scale back a little bit with live events, but we love them. I mean, there's a lot to be said about learning online. It's so convenient, it's so easy, but there's so much magic that happens by being in a room of like-minded people that are there to learn, that are there to grow, that are willing to do both the transformational work, but also wanting to learn the information. And that the come from for each person is about making a difference in the world and changing the planet. I mean, that there's just magic that happens in that community. And I don't think that if we say we only had 3 live events. I know a lot of programs, they do like 3 mastermind events or something like that. I just don't think we would have the level of magic that we have as the way that we have the events set up.
There is, yeah, something really special about the way that the community is so interconnected. And I think that maybe that is partly because there's so many events a year where we get to come together and connect and be inspired in community with each other. And I think it's both being surrounded by that collective consciousness of, yes, we can, and we've got your back. And it's also the amount of witnessing that happens when you're in a live event with people who are that awake and that inspired and get to see you and your glory and your lightness. So I'm curious what it was like for you, because Thrive Academy didn't exist for you and Jesse when you were starting out. Like, how was it getting started? And I know you started out as an acupuncturist. What was the journey sort of like for you at the beginning?
Yeah, I could tell this in a very long story. I could be a little brief about it. Essentially, I graduated from acupuncture school and I did a little bit of my coach training toward the end of acupuncture school and got my certification right after. So there I was with my acupuncture license and my coaching certification, ready to grow my business. Took me about 5 weeks to figure out that I knew nothing about growing a business and that I needed to learn something. So fortunately, I had a friend. I'd been going to some transformational seminars, and I had met a man who was a coach and a mentor to people that were new in business. And he told me, listen, if you work with me, you'll triple your income in the 90-day period that we work together. And I had some connections. I had some people that came to me as an intern when I was in my acupuncture training. I knew people. I'm a pretty outgoing person. And so I was doing about $1,800 a month just on my own, and however, that was not enough to get by here in Santa Cruz. I mean, my rent alone was like $800, not to mention my rent for my office and everything else. And at one point I was actually starting to put groceries on credit cards. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. I had already canceled all the gym membership, like anything extra, like was really pinching pennies, really struggling. And I remember this moment that I was standing in the produce aisle at the health food store with an avocado, a conventional avocado on one hand, and organic avocado on the other hand. And the difference of $1 was such a big deal. I hemmed and hawed about it for several minutes. And I just thought, okay, this has got to stop. Like, I've either got to go get a job or I've got to figure this out. And I decided to go, and, I just like was so frustrated. I mean, it was like one of those moments where I just like, it was like all the memories of being a child and my mom not being able to afford things that other kids could afford. And, just that like constant struggle, that financial struggle was really, really present for me. So I decided shortly after that I had to find a way to make it work. And so I did decide to hire the coach who said that I would triple my income if I worked with him. And when and by the way, I actually asked Jesse, we were just dating at the time. We weren't married yet because this coach charged $600 a month at the time. And I told you I was struggling, but I was like, I'm going to find a way to make this happen. So I asked Jesse if I could borrow the money from him to work with this coach. And he said yes, fortunately. And we started working together. And the first time I sat there, he said, Sharla, here's how you're going to triple your income. I'll guarantee that you will triple your income in a 3-month period if you talk to 100 people a week about your business. So essentially, I had to have 100 sales conversations every week in order to guarantee that he would we'd triple my income. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I went to every networking event that I could possibly go to. Now, you have to realize this is before social media. I mean, this is back in 2002 that I started working with him, maybe 2003, 2002. And so we didn't have Facebook. It was, you went to networking events and you met, like, that was those are the options for somebody who was just beginning. And I would go and I felt so insecure. I always felt like I was the youngest person there. And I just started my coaching practice. I just started my acupuncture practice. I felt so nervous and so uncomfortable, but I went anyway. And I would follow up with people, and that would give me a little tick mark for my conversations. And I would be at a table, one of those luncheons where you're sitting with 7 other people, and I'd stand up and share what I did. And that would count as 7 conversations. And at the end of the first 60 days, I'd had about 60 conversations in quotes on average every week. So I was hustling, and I was, I was keeping track of people, following up, everything. Um, and I was still hovering around 2,000 a month. So it wasn't going so well. And then I had this big download that really changed everything for me. And I had this idea, okay, I'm a geek about the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. As an acupuncturist, the 5 elements were like my heart and soul. They were what I loved to do, what I was all about. And I was even combining coaching and acupuncture, using the 5 elements and coaching and doing all this cool stuff. And then I asked myself this question. And I asked, okay, what if, having these conversations with potential clients, instead of it being a dreadful experience, what if instead it was this heartfelt and enjoyable experience? It felt natural and people walked away enjoying the conversation. And I didn't feel, like a used car salesman. Like, what if? And it was then like, what if the 5 elements are actually present in sales conversations as well? And those questions led me to have this download about the 5 elements of heart selling that we still teach today. And it changed everything for us. So that last 30 days of the program, when I still was having conversation with lots of people, but I was using the 5 elements, I did indeed triple my practice. I earned over $5,800 in that last 30 days. And I knew that that was a game changer. I knew that I was never again going to have to struggle for money, because I had that security of knowing that I could do something in integrity that attracted my ideal clients. So long story short, we started teaching this system to a few friends that were coaches and holistic practitioners. More people asked us. We eventually led what we now call the Client Attraction Summit. Our very first one was in 2005. We led like smaller workshops before that, but like the first big one where we had 88 people show up was in 2005. We've now led that event, I think 82 times, and have over 9,000 people have come to that live event. And we've had the opportunity to change the lives of so many people and to work with the most heartfelt, wonderful community. It's really, I feel so blessed that we've gotten to do this beautiful work in the world. And that, we know when we're working with the coaches and holistic practitioners that they're changing the world through their work. So we really have this community that's just like rising up and supporting so many people in the world. It's amazing. So that's really the story of how it got started and how I got here. And one thing I will say is that we never ask our clients to have 100 sales conversations a week. That's insane. And that's like the long, slow, hard way. We have a lot of clients, honestly, that are having like 3 conversations a month and still having $10,000 months. So now that we've got all the systems in place, how to attract clients, how to get your phone ringing, all the other the strategies to attract your ideal clients, it's just not necessary to work that hard. But that's how I got my start.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I can attest, I've been to the Client Attraction Summit, I think 9 or 10 of those 82 times. And it's such a beautiful experience to watch people get that they don't have to step out of alignment. They don't have to become a car salesman. They can actually be themselves and be heart-centered and open and connected and still reach a level of success that they didn't think was possible before. And it's so
Yeah, it actually
beautiful to
works
see
better.
that. Yeah, it
Right?
does. It works better and you feel like yourself.
Totally. And I think what so many coaches and holistic practitioners fear is they don't want to be seen as a schwarmy, person. There's so many beliefs that I had back in those days that I had to work through, and that so many people have to work through, that keep them from putting themselves out there. And the reality is that once you learn the right skills, and once you learn how to do it in a way that's fully aligned with you and you feel good about it, it feels good for everyone. People get served, they get the healing and empowerment that they need, and they're probably going to go work with someone anyway. But if you realize that you don't have to try and be pushy or go into what we call the sales box and not be yourself in order to get clients, it's like a completely different world opens up.
It is. And it's pure magic once you master those 5 elements. So in hindsight, I feel like it's really obvious and clear why the acupuncture training has like fed the evolution of Thrive Academy. And I mean, it gave you that download, that fascination with the 5 elements through that training, gave you the framework that this entire Thrive Academy has sort of been based off of, I feel like. But I'm curious if in the moment it was hard to sort of turn your back on acupuncture after you went through all those years of schooling, you put all that money down to get that license. Like, what was that
That's
part
a
like for
great
you?
question. Yeah, that's a great question. So there was this interesting thing that happened that, I got my acupuncture training and acupuncture really led me to coaching. Was a friend of mine that was a study buddy, like really good friend. And we were both suffering tremendously, and kind of one thing led to another. And I ended up this personal development workshop that just completely changed my outlook on life. And I went from being insecure and scared about being in conversation or relationship with any human being to really getting how much I wanted to make a difference in the world and how I wanted to do big things. And so part of the evolution, and when I tell my story, I don't often have a lot of time to tell all the little details that happened in between, but one of the little interludes that happened in there is that we decided, and Jesse and I decided, after I'd grown my own practice, we decided to go to this seminar that was a business seminar that was like a week long. I actually raised $18,000 so I could both pay for the tuition and also get started on a project I had an idea for. I think there was a point where I just realized, like, just doing one-on-one was not enough for me, that was not really my dharma in the world. And I wanted to do something big. So I went to this big seminar, and my idea that I wanted to get out there was really like leading live events. I wanted to do a divination deck similar to what you've just recently done with your own
Yeah.
deck. But my deck was going to be based on the 5 elements and the points, the spirit of the points of the acupuncture points, and just really more teaching this model of 5 elements, and living the model, and how do we live that model in our life. So that's what I was super passionate about. And I went to do that at this event, and it was like, that led to my first group program, doing that work. And at the same time, Jess and I, we had done a little community program, of directory program, where we were helping other coaches and holistic practitioners grow their business. And so there was kind of this like merging of what I was doing and this bigger vision that emerged, that just like, it was kind of like the universe just put one step in front of me. I had no idea I would end up here.
Mm-hmm.
And there came a point, like, I was, I had my women's leadership program, I had my private clients, and then I was helping Jesse with the community directory program. And there just came a point in time where the 3 half days that I went to the clinic to work with private clients, it was like, well, that's like a meditation. Like, that's the easy work. That's the simple work, but there's this bigger thing that's calling me, and I'm going to let go of that so I can step into this other thing that we're doing, that really, like, it's got momentum, it's moving, it's hustling, and it's got a life of its own, and I can feel it wants me to go with it. So there was just a moment in time where it made sense to let go of my acupuncture practice, to let go of my private coaching clients, and to really go with this bigger vision. And that was probably not until a year and a half in, but it just became clear one day.
Yeah, the signs were leading you that way. The feedback from the universe was giving you enough like awareness that that was the direction to move in.
Yeah,
So
and
you
funny
followed
enough,
it.
even when I graduated from acupuncture school and we had our ceremony, I did a speech at the event, and one of my teachers came up to me and said, "Sharla, you need to be speaking to groups." It had never even occurred to me, And yes, I had been a leader in a lot of areas in my life, and in leadership positions in my life, but it just never occurred to me that I really had something to share in that way with bigger groups. And until it was just the thing to do.
Yeah. And I'll just mention also that Thrive Academy has programs that teach you how to be a successful speaker as well. And when I was coming in, I had such bad stage fright when I started my business. I mean, all through my life until I worked through it. But when I came to Thrive Academy, I didn't want to raise my hand. I didn't want my voice to be amplified on a microphone. Like that was all really had me shaking in my boots. I was terrified of it. And it was a huge point of anxiety for me. But I had this awareness of a future vision of myself and where I was going with my business. And I knew that speaking on stage and leading workshops was going to be a part of it. And I had that vision, like you said, that calls you forward, that I'm going to do whatever the heck it takes to figure that out. And when I saw how masterfully you guys facilitated a room, like managed the energy of that many people, and also delivered impactful content while like holding that kind of container and doing it in such a way that people were moved, transformed, inspired, and able to act, that I knew I had to get some of that. So just so you know, becoming a speaker like that is also something that you can learn from the pros who have gone before you. And Thrive Academy is absolutely a place I would recommend going for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the Client Attraction Summit, and speaking is one way to attract clients, and it can be really effective. I mean, some of our members they have a very simple business model where what they do is they speak, they offer consultations, and then they offer high-end packages, and that's it. They focus on getting speaking gigs, they deliver their consults, they work with their clients, and they don't have to do a huge amount of online marketing. They don't have to learn a bunch of funnels, although for some people that's the thing to do. And you can certainly have a model where you're doing webinars and offering programs and packages. So, but speaking is really the foundation of a lot of it. And I think for so many people, we feel so afraid of putting ourselves out there, of being rejected, and the experience, like the spiritual transformation that has to happen in order to show up on stage or in front of a group of people. It could even be a circle of 10 people, and to be fully 100% present and holding space for them. It's worth the ride, absolutely
Absolutely.
worth the ride.
Yeah.
And
You have to
so
face your stuff to be able to do that.
you do. And yet the rewards are extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So I think for anyone thinking about stepping into being a speaker and curious if that's something for you, and being fearful, just know it's possible to step through that fear, and it can happen quicker than you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it can. And it's so much fun. I mean, I can't tell you now when I see a microphone, I'm like, how do I get on that? Like,
Give me
somebody
the
let me
mic.
talk about something.
I got something to say.
And that's such a huge change from how it used to be. And yet, I knew that was coming. And I found the people like Sharla and Jesse who could help me find those tools and master them and give me the safe space to practice those skills, and the container to work through my own stuff in the way of me having those skills, until now I feel 100% ready to get on stage and speak if I get called on, if somebody needs an extra speaker. So that is awesome. I'm also curious, what do you think it takes, because you've seen yourselves go from wanting to make it as a coach to now, you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar, I assume, organization that teaches other people how to make it as coaches and healers. What do you think it really takes as an entrepreneur or as a coach or as a holistic practitioner to sort of make it out there as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I mean, I could go on and on and on for days
Of
about
course,
what
you
it
have tons of
takes,
content.
but
I know
I'll
this.
keep it pretty simple, because there is like the higher level, the meta view of what are we looking at here, and I would say on the most meta level, find a community of people that you resonate with, that you can learn and grow with. Find mentors who've been where you've been and who hold the consciousness that you want to hold, or that match your consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and really be willing to invest in yourself. I meet people all the time who for years and years they've been struggling in their business for 10 years, and I'm thinking, you do not have to figure all this out by yourself. Like, think about all the money that you would lose by not learning how to grow your client base, and how to have those clients say yes, and where to find your people, and how to have people be excited about working with you instead of you feeling like you're chasing them. And there's some very clear, practical, proven skills and templates and tools that can walk you through that process. So it doesn't have to be us, but find mentors that can get you there. And and then be willing to invest. So that's one of the biggest things that I would say. And I think that it's a lot more valuable to do this kind of work in community if you can, because you also learn from each other. You learn from people in the community.
Yeah.
And, nobody wants to be doing their business alone. We get out there and we say, yes, I'm going to grow my business. And then it's like, oh, I'm out here struggling all by myself. Well, to have people that you can reach out to and get feedback and get support from, I think it's absolutely essential.
Yeah. And
So
learn from their mistakes and ask them questions and be held accountable and be witnessed in the growth. Like there's so many aspects to that too.
yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things I love so much that, in the Thrive community, we have a lifetime program. And what that does is it allows people that are moving at a slower pace to take their time. And it also allows those that are successful in the community to come back. And this interesting thing happens where they're like big brothers, big sisters, that there's this mentorship aspect that happens from the lifetime members who've been there, done that, and are showing up to get a review. Because the way that our templates and our training is created and is that the first pass, you're going to get some great stuff and you're going to have enough. You really only need like 65% of it down in your bones to be able to start getting results. But then as you get into it, you catch some of the subtle nuances that you didn't see before, or you get like a question and you really understand the profound nature of the question and what it's intended to do. And so the lifetime members come back, and a lot of times people come back for 3 or 4 years, and they will end up just showing up and supporting other people who are new. So it's pretty sweet the way that
It
that's
is.
turned out.
It's really
Yeah.
special. Would you mind sharing some of the critical stages to attract clients with us? I know that, I'll just say that when you show up to these events, there are so many templates and so many tools and so many ideas and, like you said, nuances within each of those templates to understand, like psychologically and energetically, and just through like really evolved communication skills. But I know there's also sort of an overview that you guys have cultivated about what it takes to attract clients. What are the critical stages of that?
Sure. Yes. And I know it can sound overwhelming to hear like, wow, there's a template for everything. But the reality is when we go back and we take a bird's eye view of what we're seeing, there really are 7 critical stages that you've got to move through in order to have your business solid. And I'll say you might be able to get away with just having 6 of these if you want a simple private practice. But if you want to step into transformational leadership where you're working with groups and you're making a difference with people on a bigger scale, I would say all 7. So the first one is that we've got to work through your vision and your beliefs. Like you got to be crystal clear about where you want to go. If you don't have an inspiring vision, it's really hard to move toward it, right? And as you want to move toward that inspiring vision, the first thing that's going to happen is that those beliefs that are going to try to keep you in your comfort zone are going to get in the way. Beliefs like people can't afford what I have, or people don't want what I have, or the economy is really bad, or I don't believe in myself. I mean, I could go on and on with the types of beliefs that will get in our way. And, even at the level that we're at, I still have beliefs that get in my way that I have to work through. And some of them even mirror some of the things that I was telling myself back in the day when I was trying to get my first, second, and third client. And so, but I have a greater facility with those. I have a greater ability to be able to move through those now through the work. And so we've got to have those breakthroughs in the beliefs so that you can move toward the vision. The next stage is vision and beliefs, stages 1 and 2. Stage 3 is we've got to come up with a way for you to talk about your work so your ideal clients are compelled and want to hear more, or people want to refer to you. We call that the client attraction code. It's a way where you share about what you do, and so that people are leaning in, they're interested, and they want to hear more. So that's all about talking about what you do. Once you have your client attraction code down, and by the way, stage 4, you into it and go back and refine what's going on in stage 3 if you need to. But stage 4 is about client attraction and heart selling. So do you know how to get your phone to ring? Do you know how to have your ideal clients find you? Do you know where to find your people? And then once they are connected with you, do you know how to have conversations with a potential client where they practically talk themselves into working with you if it's a good match, and it's a heartfelt experience for everyone? And so you can see that The client attraction code, that statement, your what do you do statement, that has people become interested. And then you need to be able to follow through and be able to have a conversation where they're going to enroll in your services if it's a good match. So that's stage 4, client attraction and heart selling. Now, the next thing that usually happens is, and that includes the 5 elements of heart selling, by the way. Heart selling is really a big body of work, and it includes a whole lot, but heart selling is in that category. And then we get to stage 5, where this is a real common thing for people to face, is that, let's say that you've never had a job where you've earned over $30 an hour, and now you're wanting to charge $150 an hour, or even if you're wanting to charge $75 an hour. What do you think happens with that gap? So you've got to do the work to be able to charge rates that value the work that you have to offer, rates that you can stand in energetically and psychologically so that you don't stammer when someone asks you how much you charge, and rates that are also sustainable so that you can earn a living doing the work that you love and doing just that and not having to have a side job.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that, like setting your rates properly, really matters, and being able to step into the rates that both have your potential clients step up themselves as they invest in themselves through working with you. So that stage 5 is really getting your rates, settled, sustainable, standing in them solidly, and being able to stand behind them. And then we get into stage 6, is once you actually share rates that really honor the value that people can get from working with you, you've got to be able to dance with concerns. And concerns such as, I don't have the money, I can't afford it, or I don't have the time, I need to talk with my partner. And how do you have those conversations in a way that's completely honoring and respectful of the journey that your potential client is on, and supports them to be empowered to move toward what they want? Because what happens with that is they say, I have this thing that I want, but I can't have it because of this thing. And so how do you actually hold that vision for them and honor them to move toward what they want? So often with coaches and holistic practitioners, there's this idea that if people are going to spend their money and pay you, that it's actually harming them. The reality is that they're spending their money on Starbucks and expensive wine and going out to eat and things, maybe even food that isn't so good for their health, or things that are not really that great for them. And when people are really desiring a big change in their life and they want to shift, there are going to be things that get in the way. And sometimes those concerns are smokescreens for other things, like, I don't really believe in myself, I don't feel worth it, like that I can actually have this, I'm not sure if I can actually accomplish this. There's so much that goes on under the surface. So when you can transform concerns and dance with those concerns in a way that really transforms your potential client's ability to be empowered, to say yes to themselves, to go for what they want, it's a beautiful and healing experience for them. And so can you both hold the space, and do you have the skill set to transform those concerns? So that's stage 6. And then the last and final stage is to get leverage, and to be able to leverage your marketing where you're able to reach more people in a greater way. And that could be online marketing. This is also leverage delivery of your services. So are you able to go from just working with clients one-on-one to working with groups of people? And so it's both leveraged service delivery and leveraged marketing. Now, one way that you could do both leverage service delivery and marketing is by speaking, as I mentioned earlier. And so, like I said, the first 6 stages are really critical if you want to have a successful private practice, you want to have a thriving private practice, if you want to take it to the next level. And honestly, you can still have a private practice model, but you can be speaking to get clients or use some of the leverage marketing. Then, there's the 7th critical stage, and that is leverage and speaking. So as you can see, all 7 of these stages are really essential to be able to have a successful business. And if you don't have a level of mastery in each of these stages, like, you might be stuck in one of these stages and you might see where you're at. Maybe you're stuck back in vision and you're not totally clear on what you want. Well, we can help you with that. You got to get crystal clear on that vision, because one of our spiritual mentors says pain pushes until vision pulls. And so, you can't get where you want to go if you don't know where you're going. And so, or maybe it's beliefs, maybe you have a vision and every time you start to move toward it, something gets in your way, and we need to work on those sabotaging beliefs and have a breakthrough there. Maybe it's talking about what you do in a way that people lean in and they're really curious and interested, and not just curious from like, oh, that's interesting perspective,
Right. How
but
many times have we
but
heard that at networking events?
right, but actually like, oh, I need to work with you, or I know someone who needs to work with you. Like, you want your what we call your client attraction code statement to be so powerful that that's the kind of response that you get. And then, you've got to learn how to have those conversations with potential clients. You can't skip over that. Sometimes people want to go right to leverage because they want to try to avoid selling, but the reality is that you're not going to be very good at any of your leverage marketing or speaking unless you've had enough conversations with people to understand exactly what they're looking for and what they're struggling with and what it is that they want. So you have to go through that stage. We've got to also get you sustainable rates. So you've got a sustainable business model that will support you and allow you to do the work you love and be able to transform those concerns. So, I've covered all of those 7 stages. This is essentially what we teach at the Client Attraction Summit. We go through
All
each of these
7 of those
stages,
stages
all 7 of them
in
in 3
short
days.
days.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And of course, their programs and their, offerings go into greater depth, but you get all 7 of those stages and you get I think most people in the room get a personal breakthrough in all 7 of those areas just by showing up to that 3-day event. And how could it possibly get any better than that? I remember when I just heard the term Client Attraction Summit, I was like a full body, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So if anybody is watching this right now, we have something special for you, don't we?
Yeah, we do. So if you go to the Thrive Academy website, you'll find that the Client Attraction Summit is $14.97. That's the regular tuition. And it's awesome. I mean, we have friends that charge $5,000 for an event of this caliber, and it's worth it because, if you learn how to get $5,000 worth of new clients in coming for 3 days, that totally makes sense. And yet, Molly asked me to do something really special for you. And because you are coming through her recommendation, and when you use this link that I give you, we're going to invite you to come and join us at the Client Attraction Summit for 3 days, live and in person, on a full scholarship.
So
So that means
awesome.
instead of paying $14.97, you get to come as our guest, and you can thank Molly for this gift. The one caveat is we do ask for a $197 scholarship seat deposit, and you get a $197 check when you show up at the event. So it really is truly a gift for you. And you can go to giftfromthrive.com/wildhearts, wildhearts, all lowercase letters, to learn a little bit more, see if the summit is right for you, and go ahead and claim your scholarship if this seems like the right next step for you.
Yes.
It'd
And
be our
please,
absolute honor.
yeah, and let me know if you go. There's a chance I might be at that event or at least get to share in, the revelry of your experience of it. I would love to know if anybody listened to this podcast or watched this video on YouTube and ended up getting to the summit. Please, please, please email me, molly@wildheartsriseup.com, so I can hear about how you enjoyed the experience and what you got out of it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about and nerd out about, and just one of my favorite spaces on earth to be in is in a Thrive Academy room, watching the amazing transformation that happens in people's lives, in their beliefs, in their visions, in their ability to choose to step into bigger pricing, and their ability to communicate what they do. I send people to Thrive all the time because it absolutely helped me become the business owner and the entrepreneur and the leader that I feel like I have finally stepped into. And I can't even wait to see what else is possible as I continue showing up at these events and getting to be in that space. So giftfromthrive.com/wildhearts, all lowercase. I will put that link in the description of both this podcast episode and this YouTube video. And if you guys haven't already, check out Thrive Academy on Facebook, on Instagram. Is it Thrive Academy on Instagram?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also have a really amazing Facebook group called Coaches and Holistic Practitioners who on a mission, or what is
Who
it?
changed the world.
Who changed the world. And that's
Yep.
a really great space with great conversations happening in there as well. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Sharla. I mean, I just feel so grateful and gifted that you chose to spend some of your time to be on my show today. So thank you for showing up.
Oh, I loved being on your show. I thank you so much for inviting me, Molly. And you're such a brilliant, wise woman, and I just love I so appreciate you sending people to thrive, because I know that once they get the basics with us, like you really are magic and a queen when it comes to working with leverage and really getting people up and going on those leverage things. It takes more, it's not easy for a lot of people. They need somebody to hold their hand. And I just love when people come through Thrive and then they get to work with you on their leverage work and really get their message out there in a huge way through online marketing and through their funnels and all kinds of stuff. So just really appreciate the work you're doing in this world. And I love this podcast, Tactical Magic.
Thank you. Thank you. And yes, you've changed my life. So more of that, more magic, more connection, more mentorship, more leaders in this world. How does it get any better than this?
Yes.
Awesome.
Such good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit subscribe or like or comment or whatever you want to do. But thanks for watching and listening. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye. Thanks for tuning into Tactical Magic. To find out more, please visit our website, wildheartsriseup.com.